A lot of people wonder whether myths are real or not, and if they are real, it's just kind of like this mythological, tall tale, Paul Bunyan type of way. But I would argue, and I I have been arguing that the myth is this kind of language or medium between like the historical and religious, and in some cases it tells a lot more than what archaeology or serious academic history can tell us, and that those pursuits are just who wants the diggers to dig, where the emphasis is on who, right? They're the most important. Where, where they want to do the digging. And it's really just these personal achievement trophies. They come up with all these like pats on the backs, these crazy designations like high, middle, medium, low age, right? So they can make the groundbreaking first discovery. And the myths make it simple in some cases, and they're fairly accurate and they're truthful. So one mythological tale I've always kind of thought about, just because if you read Hesiod, it's just glossed over, right? It's the story in the beginning of Sky or Caelus, who's been castrated and overthrown by Saturn. And the further I read over the years, I come across all these similar myths. Like in Greek, you have Uranus or Ouranos, and Hebrew and Sumerian, you have these sky or celestial chieftain gods who are castrated and usurped by this chthonic father time god who holds this like sickle-like symbol. He's this farmer god. And if we look at the modern country today of Portugal, its name can mean something like this port or coastal town in the Gaelic area of the Roman province of Spain. And furthermore, the Roman province in northwest Spain is roughly kind of this like land of the Gaelic people, or right. So these Celtic or sons of Caelus were most likely in contact and conflict with the encroaching Iberians, right? These Neolithic farmers who probably worship some kind of like Yahweh or Saturn like god, because Spain itself was or still kind of is this Celtic Iberian populace that has been subjected over the years to this Greco and Phoenician colonization in certain urban areas, and that culture spreads, right, the language, in addition to this full-fledged conquering and Latinization by the Romans. And the name, this like Celtic or Gaelic, comes from the Greek or the Phoenician language that was there before, right? It was there before the Latins. So the Latins kind of right. I don't know if they butchered it, but they Latinized already this language that was already there, or this name for them was already there. So perhaps that's kind of why they didn't understand them as this sky or celestial worshippers, although they did theorize or they interpreted their worship as kind of like this Yahweh, right? Or this sky god. But they just, I don't know if they didn't put two together because the languages were just different, right? The languages, even though they understood Greek, it was just a different language. And you could even argue that some of the remnants of this kind of Uranos or Greek is still there, like Portugal. But if you look in there, it's kind of like you take away the P, there's like this Ortugal, right? This is or, which you can, from Greece, or is like a mound, or you could take it as it's kind of like this derivative of Uranos, the chief god, right? This cognate word that you derive everything from, right? And like this Mount Olympus is the mound of Uranus, right? This like burial mound. Latinization lasted, and we know them as Gaelic, and I interpret it as kind of this Caelus, right? These sons of Caelus. But the serious people argue Gaelic or Caelus means mound or rock, right? From this Castro, but I would say Castro is castle or casa, right? If you take like beginner Spanish, because Castile literally is like castle, right? Spain is kind of, it means like castle. It's a derivative of Caelus, which kind of makes sense, right? It's like this Mount Olympus, and the Greeks understand sky as literally, right, Uranos or Uranos, which or Uranus, which I argue it's like the Hurrians, who came from the northern Mesopotamian area, and these people, maybe they were like these Celtic or Aryan type people who worship the sky, or this Jupiter precursor. And in Babylonia, you have the Mari or Martu, and they worship this Martu-duk or Marduk, right? They're this people of the Mari, and the famous Babylonian emperor even has this kind of Mari or Maru in his name, Hammurabi. And going further back, the Sumerian sky god we know as Anu, or today the Anukai, these crazy aliens, conspiracies. But nevertheless, they're sky worshippers, right? And he's famous for his worship at Uruk or Warka or something like this. The pronunciation on that one is probably up for debate. But long story short, I would say that when you think of Celtic, you think of celestial, and when you think of Gaelic, you're thinking of the sky or sons of Caelus.